Hi, everyone. I just want to apologize up front before you even listen to this episode for the audio quality. I just really didn't realize what was happening at the time. But you know what? The information in this episode is just too good to try to do another one. There's just too much in here. So I tried to do the noise reduction. Just please take from it what you can. It's got a lot of good info.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode number 60 of CBD Talk Podcast. Today we have a great guy. I had the pleasure of being a moderator on a panel at CBD West Expo in September, and I was the moderator for Vets, Pets, and CBD. And I had the pleasure of meeting and spending some time with Ian Quinn, the CEO and founder of Phyto Animal Health. So we're going to learn some stuff today about vets, pets, and CBD. Well, maybe vets, but definitely pets and CBD. So Ian, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell me, first of all, a little bit about Phyto Animal Health, how you're organized, and I know that you guys are very much science-based.
Thank you, Don. It's great to be here and good to talk with you again. Always a pleasure. Phyto Animal Health. Well, we're very specific on how we've set up our company and developed our products. Our mission, first off, and that's what's important, is healthy pets, happy planet. So we're not here just to make sure and sell CBD products and make money. We're actually here for the improvement of the health of the animals and the planet. And we follow everything strict to the up-to-date science that is available, be it on the phytocannabinoids or on the benefits of overall hemp for animals. We do have a board of veterinary advisors that make up pain specialists, anesthesia, nutrition, behavioral modification, from veterinary technicians to veterinary doctors themselves. Many of them both within the equine industry, the companion side, as well as into the livestock industry. So we both were able to get a real broad, wide range of information and scientific knowledge to come together. Consensus on how we develop these products is we want to make sure we're not hurting anybody. We're doing it right, and we're helping improve their health.
Gotta love that.
Absolutely. That's what builds the trust. When people know that you have certificates of analysis and lab breakdowns that show not just the cannabinoid use, but also shows what not in the product, fertilizer, pesticides, and all that stuff. That transparency helps deliver the trust that people need to know that I can give these products to my loved one without fear of hurting them.
Yeah, and let's talk about, I talk a lot about COAs on the show. And I have been for over 2.5 years now, I guess it's been. It's really important to know what's in your product.
Right.
You have to take that responsibility because it's not a regulated field. So, and I like the fact that you mentioned it's also important what's not in the product, the pesticides and the herbicides and things like that. That's not something you want to give to a healthy animal, let alone a sick animal.
Right. And it's not just fertilizers, it's things like lead and mold and things like that. We go back to 2012, we had that really scary recall on dog jerky. Mm-hmm. It was kind of tainted with lead. Well, we don't want to have that. The consumer is much more savvy these days, thankfully. And that's why you're seeing the independent retail pet industry explode. Well, people want to have more direct information as to what these products are, not just cannabinoids, but other pet products. Mm-hmm. Some of these retailers, it might be hard to get that direct information. On the smaller scale, they're a little bit more educated. And actually, that's where, for us in Phyto Animal Health, it becomes really important because right now, the American Veterinary Medical Association bars veterinarians from selling these products or using these products in their practice. So what does that mean? We have to make sure we provide education and guidance to the retailers. How to do this right. What are best practices? What are the directions for use? What are the potential benefits? What's the best product for the specific pet and what they're needing? Because if the veterinarian can't talk about it, well, Dr. Google is not the best option, I guess is where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
And so you have to educate the clients. And so part of it is, what is the COA? Why is it important? What's in it? What's not in it? but also then looking at, well, how do I talk about the products? What's it do for the endogenous cannabinoid system? What is the endogenous cannabinoid? Does this get my pet high? These are pretty common. Is it legal? Those are pretty common questions that, well, veterinarians should know, and so should the retailers.
Right, and also, going from full spectrum to isolate. When either when one is better than the other, and explaining the whole biphasic thing, because people, more. Well, not necessarily.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And that's the thing. It's like, if you do it, it's not that more is bad. It's that more can actually be less effective. And
Correct.
And that's not something I think that people, the normal average consumer, is used to. So, all right. So let's. How about you tell us how you got into CBD for yourself and for pets?
Absolutely. So I first became an advocate for CBD cannabidiol about 4 years ago when I started volunteering at the VA at different housing programs. Dante, my service animal for traumatic brain injury, was with me, and together we would volunteer teaching anger management and cognitive behavioral therapy methods and meditation. During this time, I saw CBD being really beneficial to the veterans. Some of these were old salty dogs from Vietnam who had Agent Orange damage, so they could barely drink a cup of coffee because the muscle spasms in their hands. Some of these guys were from Iraq, some of them women as well from Iraq 1 who were dealing with the burn pits and the diseases and things that followed that. Also, anger issues, emotional imbalance, because, one of the things we don't fathom now is telling veterans they're baby killers. But we got to remember the Vietnam guys, well, we spit on them. It was a horrible thing how they were treated. And so many of them, had neurological imbalance, some psychosis, anger management issues. But what I saw was CBD balancing them, helping them. I saw guys moving who couldn't hold that cup of coffee, hold that cup of coffee, right? Drink it without spilling it on themselves. I saw them getting out of chairs a little bit better. I saw them be emotionally balanced better because it's an anxiolytic and an antipsychotic. This is why we have to push the VA to prescribe this to veterans, so that because 22 a day is not okay.
Yeah.
Suicide, right? And so when I started seeing those benefits to the veterans, I went to the veterinarians I knew in my sales job. I've been volunteering in a lot of different organizations for a long time, but it doesn't pay the bills. My medical sales background paid the bills, and so I work at a publicly traded global medical device manufacturer, selling pulse oximeters and anesthesia machines. And so I was working with veterinarians in the universities, at zoos, at research facilities, teaching veterinary anesthesia techniques, drugs, the equipment, and sell those type of things. So I went to the veterinarians and I said, guys, here's what I'm seeing with the humans. Now, I know there's ingredients that humans can have, animals can't, right? Chocolate, macadamia nuts, raisins, and so on. It can cause liver failure and subsequent other things as well. But what about cannabis? What about CBD? They told me, Ian, absolutely, CBD is going to be extremely beneficial to your pet. It's non-toxic. You can't overdose them. Be careful of THC because it is a psychoactive molecule and can be dangerous for animals. CBD, though, over the counter should be fine. And so I did my due diligence, and I found a company in my backyard in San Diego that's publicly traded. MJNA is their stock ticker number. And since they're publicly traded, I knew they had the quality controls in place, the economies of scale to be able to do things. And so I started buying some oil and started making these little dog treats called the hemp bone bacon apple donuts. Bacon donuts are little circles. They're soft baked. Oatmeal flour is the base because that's pretty common allergens, like gluten, soy, and corn. They're not in it. Bacon, apples, 4 milligrams of CBD, and some cinnamon. In 3 days of using that product, I noticed my dog Dante's mobility improved greatly. He has a pit bull. He suffers from hip dysplasia, and by age 3, he could not go up downstairs. I had to carry him. His mobility was extremely limited. Rescued from a kill shelter. He had PTSD symptoms like I was seeing with the veterans. I left the house, I'd have to crate him, or I always had to bring him with me. If I didn't, he'd eat the house. So he went through a plastic crate, a wire crate, a metal crate with bars like this thick, and he bent them in opposite directions. And then I bought a crate that they use in search and rescue dogs. It's a big combat metal crate. I only broke most of his teeth trying to get out of it. But within 3 days, his anxiety really was managed quite well. And so I noticed one thing very important. He started eating as well. So was the pain and the anxiety. He had no appetite. You see it every bone in his body. 4 years later, he's super healthy. I know you've been able to meet him a few times now, and he's the joy of the house. You know, everyone loves meeting Dante because he's just a ball of love.
He is. He's so sweet.
You know, the reason I saw it is because when I saw my first class with him, we were getting towards the end of the class, and there was this guy who was just sitting there, hands crossed, just on his face, and the energy coming out. He did not want to be there the whole time. And he was just about to explode when all of a sudden I noticed Dante's in his lap, and he's just, and he's smiling. And I'm like, that's a 180. And I was just about to ask him about it when two other veterans turned around. They were like, hey, man, you having a moment? He goes, dude, I was about to tell all you guys to screw off and fly for the door. But then your dog jumped in my lap. And see, earlier, Dante was walking around just saying hi. I just thought he was being a dog. He's super friendly. But no, it really turns out he hones in on someone going down the rabbit hole and becoming disassociated or disconnected from the group, and he brings them comfort. He focuses on it. And so they asked me, like, how did you train him to do that? And I was like, I did not know he had that skill. He's to help kind of distract so people don't come up and cause issues to me, because I have a couple of holes in my brain from professional fighting. So people distract on him and don't bother me. So, but I noticed that. And so after seeing how it helped him, I decided to start sharing it with friends and family. And one of my friends' members had lymphoma, big giant tumors, just like the size of golf balls in her throat. She couldn't eat. She was dying. She lost 8 pounds in a week. It was Thursday. She shot me the photo with, the big tumor. And she says, Ian, I've heard the benefits of your CBD bites. What about for my dog? And I said, absolutely. So Friday, she picked him up. How much should I give? I said, you give as much as you want. Don't worry. She's going through a lot right now. She was going to put her down at the end of the weekend. Notice I kind of ruined it there, because by Monday I shot her a text. Good luck. She wanted kids to have a weekend to say goodbye. And at the end of the day, she shot me a text back. The tumors, where are they? They were gone by 86%. And the radiograph showed amazing reduction. I don't know if that's the CBD, but that was the only thing that was incorporated into the animal's diet.
Yeah.
So the veterinarians and I are looking at that, and we're like, whoa. So I went back to the veterinarians and said, guys, here's what I'm seeing. For behavior, for pain, and all this. And they said, Ian, congratulations, you created an amazing product. What are you doing? And I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? They're like, why are you still working for somebody? So guys, I'm from the south side of Chicago. My dad was a steel worker. My mom's a nurse. I'm a hardworking man. They said, yeah, but you're also resourceful. Go find the resources. So I went to the company MGNA who was buying the oil, and I said, guys, I'd like to buy kilos. They said, Ian, what are you doing? I laid it out there. I told them. I said, are you looking for investors? I said, well, yes, I am. A month later, I went to the board of MJNA and I pitched Phyto Animal Health. By March the following year, I left my 6-figure sales job to focus on the growth and development of the company. And by October of that same year, MJNA decided to invest and develop Phyto Animal Health. I buried the hatch. I sold the farm, maxed out the credit cards, closed up the 401k. I was behind in everything. I was hustling to make it happen, and we made it happen. Sometimes you just got to get to the edge and go for it. If you don't, it's a lot softer at the bottom than you think.
Yeah, that's great. I love a success story. Good things happen to good people. It's always warms my heart. So, all right. So let's get to some specifics here, because we got a lot of people with pets that can use some help. Absolutely. What do you think is, if any, is the danger in giving CBD to pets?
So far, the only counterindication and danger that I've come across is transplants.
Oh.
It's a powerful immunosuppressive in some instances, right? And so we don't want to suppress the immune system too much with liver transplants or body transplants or things like that, organ transplants. There's counterindication on the human side as well as on the in vivo side, somewhat preclinical side. We have a lot of data on this stuff with humans, but before we have that data on humans, we always test it in some type of preclinical setting first. There's a lot of data out there in vivo and vitro studies. Really, the only counterindication is a slight increase in liver enzymes. So for organ transplant, that could be dangerous.
Yeah. That does make sense because it is so effective in immune disorders.
Right. Like, that's why we see so much benefit for arthritis, right? This is Cornell University. They released data that's published now, which is funny because it was published by Cornell University, a prestigious university, went into the DVM 360 magazine, so it's published online, but the ABMA has not published it, which is really strange. They're almost afraid of it. You see, what Cornell found was very specific. For geriatric dogs with osteoarthritis, 2 milligrams per kilogram of body weight provided comfort relief with very few undesirable side effects, drooling and lethargy, for geriatric dogs with osteoarthritis. That comfort relief lasted 4.7 hours, plus or minus an hour. From Cornell. Well, so why? Why would it do that? Well, at the pharmacological level, what's mechanism level, what's taking place at the molecular level, is that CBD is an anti-inflammatory. So it reduced the inflammation in the joint. But also a bone stimulant, strengthen the joint. And it's a analgesic for pain management. So there's your osteoarthritis potential support. It's not potential. The clinical study from Cornell shows it.
Yeah. And if you're gonna have a side effect, I'm thinking that drooling and lethargy would be much preferred over some of the other side effects that can happen with carprofen or something like that.
Right. Sometimes what you can see too is the biggest side effects that I've seen so far is increased thirst, and sometimes in really high dose diarrhea. But that sometimes I think has to do with the oil content, right? High fat content in some of the tinctures.
Yeah.
Medium chain triglycerides. Could be like the grease BB effect. But it's also a powerful cleanser because it helps with liver function. So it could have a blowout effect. But for the thirst part, that makes sense because really it's about increasing, because it's a vasodilator, takes your vascular tissue and opens it up. Let's say we start here. Then we take a CBD. Sometime later, it dilates. Same amount of water that's in here is now in here. So you get thirsty. There's compensation now. That's generally where you get a little weird with blood pressure. So that's why you want to make sure stay hydrated.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so this actually is a good segue into, because you talked about tinctures, into best methods of treating a pet with CBD.
Yes.
So we've got treats, we've got tinctures, we've got just kind of go through your thoughts on each.
You got it. So you're right. There are different administration options for delivery methods, right? One is a raw paste, which is the original extraction method. In our company, we use cold CO2 press. So that way there's no heat damaging it or some chemicals damaging it, and it's not then in the product either. This now comes out like a toothpaste. You just rub it right into the gum line. It's actually the same one I use every day for myself. It's the same one my mom uses to support her rheumatoid arthritis. But what's nice about that oral application is it absorbs through the gum line. But be it a human or an animal, it's absorbing through the gum line and bypassing first liver transport. What does that mean? It means less of the CBD is being filtered by the liver and more of it's getting into your bloodstream for the first round. Eventually it will be filtered by the liver, but it's bypassing its first transport. Now, another method that's popular are tinctures, the oils. They're either with some type of coconut, like a medium chain triglyceride, or with long chain triglycerides. There's little differences between the two delivery methods, but what these are essentially is you're taking a fat molecule, cutting it in half, fractionating it, and attaching the CBD molecule, and that's what's delivering the CBD to the body. However, when we ingest the CBD orally, if it's in a medium chain triglyceride, it's going to go through traditional digestive tract system and go through the intestines and everything, and eventually go through the liver, first liver transport. So you're going to only get 38, maybe 40% of the CBD into your bloodstream when you take it orally. So that oral application is the most concentrated way to get it into the bloodstream. However, the oral concentrates have a pretty peppery alfalfa, very plant hemp-based flavor, and that can turn off a lot of animals, like cats. And so with the medium chain triglyceride oral delivery method, this is nice because now you can have an option of a full spectrum phytocannabinoid rich hemp oil or CBD with other cannabinoids, or you can have a CBD isolate. Well, now it doesn't matter. It's attached to a fat molecule, let's say coconut oil. In this instance, it's generally pretty flavorful. Most animals will take either one. But for the isolate side, it's got a better desirable taste because isolate has no flavor. So it's just pure coconut. So picky animals like cats or certain dogs, that's a great option for delivery. Again, it is going to go through and be filtered by the liver. Then there's treats and chews. Chews, oral chews like the hemp bone bacon apple donut that we sell. Again, this is just another good way to deliver it. It's getting still be filtered by the liver, still get into the bloodstream, but still an effective method. I use them for behavioral modification and also as rewards, but they're just not super concentrated forms. I also like to use the oils and the treats together when I do. So for instance, Dante in the morning, he gets his breakfast, and I put a quarter teaspoon of our Vitality 500 milligram into it. Based on the Cornell data, it's suggesting it should last 5 hours plus or minus an hour. So every 4 or 5 hours, I'm assessing my buddy. I'm checking out how he's doing. And if he needs a little extra comfort and support, I pop him a couple of the hemp bone bacon donuts to maintain that level of support. We get home, another teaspoon of the Vitality 500 into dinner, comfortable throughout the day, and sleeps really well at night. And now we are also seeing CBD delivered in topicals. Mm-hmm. You have to understand there's CBD receptor sites, endocannabinoid receptor sites, CB1 and CB2, located on the inner part of the body to the bone, all the way to the outer part of the body and the skin and the hair. Of course, we're going to see benefits there. And that's why you typically, with animals taking it with a medium chain triglyceride, they have that nice shiny coat.
That's a good side effect.
It's a great side. That's a wonderful side effect.
It is. So, yeah, I'm kind of I'm lucky because our dog is fine with the tincture. But then again, we have 2 cats, and I've seen him go into their cat box and eat cat poop too. So, what are you gonna do? I don't think he's too taste sensitive. So.
Yeah.
But when I get the tincture bottle out, he is right there, and he wants his CBD now.
Oh yeah, animals are somewhat intuitive. I mean, like you said, sometimes they can be really silly and eat feces, and you're like, "Oh, that's great, thanks."
Yeah.
Send me after that. That's lovely. But you're right; they're also intelligent enough to know. Wait, that tastes pretty good, but more importantly, that makes me feel great.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the oh gosh, darn it! Sometimes I forget the word. And I've talked about it before. When a human takes something and it works, there's that whatever placebo effect. Talk about placebo effect in animals.
Well, placebo effect in animals doesn't really exist.
Exactly.
In owners, it exists, right? And so that's actually, we go back to that Cornell data. I love the clinical science that's available nowadays, right? When people say there's no data, slap them in the face and be like, no, there's data. I'll show it to you. Because the Cornell data shows us lots of interesting information about what the CBD is. And now, of course, ADHD kicked in, and I was right off the loop on where I was going to take.
Squirrel! Placebo.
Thank you. Okay, I should stop using the cannabis products myself. Affects the memory. So the placebo effect, actually in Cornell's data, what they found was that was actually a placebo study. It was a double-blind crossover with placebo, right? So the humans had no idea if they were given a CBD, if they were given glucosamine, or if they were given a painkiller like tramadol, or if they were given a placebo. There's a lot of data that was actually in there that they looked at. So the funny part is humans are confused by placebo effect. Animals aren't.
Nice. So when it works, it works.
That's right. And that's why they threw the placebo in there, because they can help factor out the human side of the study as well.
That's good. Because we need that. All right, so let's talk about an instance where using CBD first as a first line of treatment would be actually safer than using a pharmaceutical. Possibly. I mean, we're just saying
Right.
hypothetically.
Right. Now, that's actually a really important topic to bring up because there's actually something going on in animal medicine right now that's very challenging for veterinarians and technicians to manage pain in their hospitals. So the federal government asked manufacturers of opiates and opioids to reduce their manufacturing, right? I'm not going to mention their names because they'll probably sue me if I do. But remember that the same guys who are making the opiates and opioids for humans are the same ones making it for the animal side, right? So what do these companies do? When they say, I've got to cut manufacturing back, they cut it back mostly on the animal side.
That's terrible.
So literally 80% of the opioid reduction that took place over the last 2 years went to the veterinary medical side. How do you manage pain then? That means they've got to, and here's the crazy part. Patterson, MWI, these big distribution companies that sell and provide access to these drugs are only now able to sell them in vials of 5 and 10 at a time, not boxes at a time. Literally, they have supply for a week, if that, in some of these hospitals. So, where do I think CBD has a great application? Pain management.
Yeah, makes sense.
It is a natural multimodal COX-2 inhibitor. Because it's a multimodal COX-2 inhibitor, its anti-inflammatory capabilities and analgesic abilities are fantastic. That's why the AVMA should really reevaluate their stance on cannabinoid use in hospitals. Because people are going to go to Dr. Google,
yeah,
or maybe even a human cannabis dispensary, maybe not get the right product.
right.
Maybe they'll buy something that's human, thinking, oh, totally safe, like a gummy bear. No, sugars, not good for the liver. Stop.
Exactly.
You probably not eat those too. Just saying. Different options. But
Well, Dante can't tell you his symptoms. So
that's correct.
That's why we don't want to give Dante something that we don't know is good for him.
That's right.
Okay.
You know, so one thing I would like to say though, Don, is I never advocate people using CBD or any natural product in place of traditional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as a great adjunct, right?
Yes.
To prescribed applications in medical. Follow the treatment. But here's some good news. The California, right? The people of California pushed for an assembly bill that just passed. CA Assembly Bill 2215. California Assembly Bill 2215, CA 2215. Anyways, 2215 now protects veterinarians and professionals in that area to discuss, to recommend, and prescribe CBD products for animals.
I am so excited because when we did the panel, that hadn't passed yet.
That's right. It was sitting on Governor Brown's desk, and he signed it.
I'm so happy for you guys.
Huge. We're not the only state. There's 6 more states. New Jersey's already up on it. New York's looking at it. Arizona's looking at it. Nevada's looking at it. Of course, I would call it Las Vegas like it's the city. There are 6 other states already looking at it because they see the benefits. They know. I mean,
well, and that's something we talked about. If a veterinarian is not allowed to talk about it at the risk of losing his license,
right.
then their patients, it leaves the patient's owner just in a black hole.
Correct. Actually, what it does is it removes the veterinarian from the level of expert.
Yeah.
From the position of expert. That's who they are. And what's kind of weird is they're also part of the consumer protection.
Yeah.
Right? So wait, I have data. I can give you clinical knowledge, but wait, I'm supposed to not? Hey, you're right. That puts the public at risk. It puts the pets at risk.
Uh-huh.
It puts retailers at risk. It puts the manufacturers at risk. It puts everybody at risk.
Exactly.
Let them be the experts. And that's what's great. Like Stephen Seitel and Liz Houston, they're members of our veterinary board. They help run the Veterinary Cannabis Academy, which helps actually educate technicians and veterinarians and certify them with CE unit, right? Continuing education unit. They're now getting the info out there. So it's available.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We're getting that out there for sure. You can actually go on our website, phytoanimalhealth.com, and we have an electronic ebook that's free to download. It actually covers a lot of the things that we've discussed today in the cast, but some other things and tips like how to talk to your veterinarian. What are some of the best questions to ask your veterinarian?
That's great. Now, so let's just mention a handful of things that, a handful of symptoms or conditions that CBD has shown to be beneficial for.
Absolutely. So CBD so far clinically has been shown to be beneficial for pain management, to help support animals through arthritis and the pain associated with the inflammation. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory, bone stimulant, so it supports healthy hips and joints, which is just like glucosamine, chondroitin, right? Actually effective in some of the clinical studies showing that. It also promotes cardiac function, heart function, just like CoQ10, right? It's going to function and support because it's a vasodilator and an anti-ischemic and help support heart health. But it also promotes neurological balance. As an antipsychotic, as an anxiolytic, and a neuroprotectant, now it's supporting brain health, just like if you were to take valerian root or maybe even some chamomile to relax and calm. And that's where the calming effects come from. So now we see it's got this multiple effect of application, internal application, and even mental emotional applications, because it's going to help promote and optimize all of it together as one. If you think about it, there's endogenous cannabinoid receptor sites in all of those areas.
Yep.
And when we provide nutrition to it, because my belief is this is a nutraceutical. And hear me out on that, because hemp oil itself is rich in omega-6 and 3 fatty acids in the 3-to-1 ratio, and that ratio is proven to support heart and brain health for humans and animals. Now we're talking just hemp oil. What happens when we get enough omega-3? Our body takes that essential molecule, because we don't make it, that's why it's called essential, that we eat it. Once we get an essential enough of that oil, we make 3 plus 3, 6. When we get enough 6 and 3, we make 9. So that's how our bodies make these great omega fatty acids, 6 and 9, to help our body. Well, when we eat phytocannabinoids, phyto Latin for plant, right? Just like Phyto Animal Health or plant animal health, right? Or plant-based products for animals. But phytocannabinoids, our body can take and manipulate. These then can interact with the endogenous cannabinoid system inside the body cannabinoid system, because that's what endogenous means. So when we provide enough of those phytoplant molecules to the systems and receptor sites, that's the nutrition it needs, and it's been starved from for a while. That's why we see so much benefit and support to healthy hips and joints, like glucosamine, to cardiac function, like CoQ10, and neurological balance and things like that.
Okay, so we talked about how it helps companion animals.
Yes.
How about equine and production? Equine and livestock.
All right.
I noticed on your website you have something about equine and livestock, and you know, I don't have a horse and I don't have a cow, so it just doesn't enter my world. But would you have to? Okay, I already know the answer to this, but for the sake of other people, would you have to give them a lot more than what you give your dog or cat?
Nope. So far, that's a good question, right? Because you would think, based on the size of the animal and the weight, like with horses in the equine industry, independent studies are showing that roughly the same amount that we take will benefit a horse.
And this is big in the horse racing, especially. I know.
Oh, tremendous. Jennifer Arnold, who's a professional circuit rodeo star, She uses our products specifically with her horses pre-show, as well as post-show, uses them at the home as well, because it locks out a lot of the craziness people talk about with horses and the nonsense that comes with the attitude. It helps them relax. We've seen animals perform a little bit better because they're not as stressed, with better gait and running position because the anti-inflammatory helps with that. But, aside from the performance animal like the equine, what about the retired stallions? Well, some of these guys have got bad hips, they got bad knees, in some cases laminitis that's beginning to form and cause the hoof inflammation that makes it hard to walk. CBD is showing extreme benefit there. Also in horses with the heaves, with respiratory infections. It's a bronchodilator. Now, in terms of the pain side, let's go back to this laminitis, because this is what I've seen in several cases now, with horses that are preparing to almost become lame. They have a very hard time moving. Just like with Dante, I saw his mobility greatly improve. And so, because it's supporting that function of healthy hips and joints, well, I see the same thing with the horses. Again, they have an endogenous cannabinoid system. About 75 milligrams once, maybe twice a day provides them that comfort. And so it's pretty easy also to give it to the horses because that flavor profile, that paste I talked about earlier is what I like to use with horses. Just put it right on your finger and rub it into their gum line, which they're doing on things anyways. And that's a great way to get into their system. But another reason is the terpene in it that we have is a beta-carotene. Peppery alfalfa flavor, the horses go crazy for it. But after about 4 days, you should see some changes, some improvements. It's pretty impressive. But it's not just, now that's the pain side. In terms of the respiratory side, this is interesting. As a bronchial dilator, it helps open up the lungs, right?
I have to tell you, I got off I was about seven or 8 years ago, I was down to 20% lung capacity. And
Wow.
I was on the Advair 500. I was sleeping with a nebulizer. I'd wake up in the middle of the night having to take the nebulizer because I was like suffocating. And a couple years ago, I started taking, well, actually, it's been more than that now. I started taking CBD, and I was taking it for pain.
Right.
And I realized a few days later that I hadn't taken my inhaler in days. So, I just... that's just something I always want to let people know is it's not that it's a magic pill for everything, but it's a magic pill for your endocannabinoid system, which supports everything. So, but so horses have bronchodilator problems too, I guess.
Oh yeah, their larynx, their throats spaz out and think about the temperature changes and things like that, but also the environment they live in, right? So they're outside most of the time. They've got a pen they're living in, a stall 10 by 10, maybe 12 by 16, and the bedding that they're sleeping on. Typically hay or sawdust. That stuff kicks up in the air and dusts. They breathe that in. Well, it's not just hay and sawdust that's flying in the air. It's chemicals, it's mold, it's poop, it's urine, it's all types of stuff that's not good for them to breathe in.
Yeah.
It's not just getting in their nose and into their lungs. It's getting in their eyes and creating conjunctivitis. It's getting in their ears and causing issues too. It's getting inside the hoof and causing mold fungus issues. Well, that's where we come in, not on the CBD oil side, even though it supports all that. We take the stock of the plant, the leftover piece, and we shred that and we turn it into bedding and litter. This is an anti-dusting product, so it doesn't kick dust into the air. Even when the horse is moving their entire body to kind of fluff the bed, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
When you get in bed, you try to get your pillow set right. Horses do the same thing. They lay down. They're going to try and move the sawdust and whatever bedding they're on and make it comfortable. Well, the hemp bedding is extremely comfortable, super soft, like cotton. And it absorbs way better liquid than sawdust or hay, about 2.5 times more than hay and about 3 times more than sawdust. What's nice about that then is it's super soft and fluffy for them to roll around on. It's super soft and fluffy for them to walk on because it's like walking around with running shoes on rather than bare hardwood floor, right? But since it's soft and absorbing, it clumps and it sticks to the ground. So even in real high windstorms, it's not kicking up, causing dust, or blowing away like the rest of the litter. Because it stays put, it also keeps that comfort for the animal and reduces hawk sores and burns to their bodies.
Ah.
So a lot of the horses or animals that get those elbow rubs and those calluses right here,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those calluses get improved in their health.
Nice.
If not, at some point just go away. At the end of it, because you have now a pesticide-free, chemical-free, fertilizer-free product, it might be full of poop now, right? But remember, you've been mucking the stall for the last 18 weeks, and it's lasted more. You've used 1/3 of the product because how much it absorbs compared to the others. Well, it's biodegradable, so it goes on a compost pile rather than into the waste bin.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to reduce our impact on trash.
Yeah.
So a biodegradable product now that actually turns into fertilizer. And even has better microbe count because it's an anti-microbial material, reducing MRSA, E. coli, Salmonella.
All right, so let's talk about those cute little cows, livestock stuff. What would you use it for with livestock?
So, and with the livestock, I use for personal livestock, right? We have to think about personal livestock, and then we have to think about mass kind of scale production animal. On the personal side, you're allowed to feed your chickens and your goats and your cows hemp seed oil, hemp seeds. But if you're actually going to then be like a manufacturer, like Tyson Foods or something, they would be banned from selling hemp seed or using it with their chickens. Because the FDA says that's not a food ingredient. And they don't know if it's going to taint the carcass of the body that we are going to eat. Mm-hmm. That makes sense?
Yeah, of course, in the 1900s, we did it all the time, and it was a good thing. But that's okay. We all know about the FDA. So.
Right. And, well, also, the funny part is other countries still do it. Mm-hmm. So, when you're bringing over European cheeses and meats and stuff like that, the dairy, that's got phytocannabinoids probably in it and trace amounts somewhere because, yes, they're feeding that to their animals. The animals chew it. It's tasty. It's rich in fiber, amino acids, protein, and other things aside from the phytocannabinoids. And when we look at the other nutrients in hemp itself, what we will see typically is dairy cows will increase milk production. In some cases, up to 1.8 liters a day per cow. Whoa.
There's a lot of great information out there that people don't know about.
Well, let's think about this too. The bedding I was talking about for the horses. Let's use that for chickens. Get rid of the sawdust that's in those big, gigantic industrial chicken coops. And that's just an infection and microbial nastiness waiting to kill your animals, right? Because stuff's so nasty. So hemp, right, when we use it as a litter, sorry, I had to make that face because I've actually seen some of these chicken coops and smelled them, and I just can't believe the treatment of the animals. Yeah. Hemp bedding's nice. It's super soft, super absorbent, but that antimicrobial capability, reducing MRSA, E. coli, Salmonella by 90%. 90%. That's a huge reduction. That greatly improves the health of the animals and potentially helps us curb antibiotic resistance in the food chain. Now, the other thing it does, though, is it helps reduce the death rate, the attrition rate in these chicken coops. An average death rate of a large chicken coop is about 8.1%, or 8.7, about that. Well, what if we could drop it to 7.8, 7.6? Doesn't sound like a huge reduction, but remember, there's 200, 300,000 chickens in one coop alone, with 200 coops in one state, right? Wow. That's a lot of chickens you could help reduce the death rate to and improve the bottom line of the farmer. Because when the animals are healthier, they produce more. When they produce more, the farmer benefits.
Yeah. So you're right. On a personal, for your backyard chickens and your personal farm animals, it's fine.
Absolutely. That's your personal.
Haven't gotten there on the production side yet.
Right.
What do you think the effect of the Farm Bill passing is going to have? Because I know it's going to pass. It's got to pass.
Correct. Well, I think it's going to do one of several things. First off, it's going to give American farmers a great opportunity to compete on a global scale with fantastic products. I've been all across the country. I've met a lot of different farmers, and they care about what they do. care about the land, they care about the animals, they care about the food that they're bringing on the tables, they care about their families and their communities. And to starve them from using a product that requires 1/10 of water to grow, to corn, soy, wheat, tobacco, right? And they're going to be making more money and saving water and saving money on their water bills. It doesn't require fertilizers, pesticides, or herbicides when you follow good agricultural practices. Because when it grows 20, 30 feet tall, it creates a shade canopy of all the leaves and the buds and the flowers to the bottom, and no sunshine gets there. There's no herbicides because you don't have to kill any weeds. So yes, this is going to help benefit now also the land and the animals. That's what the farmers are wanting. That's what they deserve. So that's one thing. They're going to have great products that they're going to be able to grow and make some money. The other benefit to it is now that we talked about the money, it's the money. Look at the industry right now. The industry is estimated in the U.S. alone, $6 billion. By 2022, it's estimated to go up to $22 billion.
Yep.
Federal legalization, overnight, $55 billion. Remember, Canada just legalized.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have to catch up on the stock market now with that.
Yeah, and we don't need to be bringing that heavy metal hemp oil in from China. Sorry, don't need it.
That's correct. You have to be very careful. And again, going back to the COAs. And quite funny, that's why we have on our products proudly made in the USA stamped on there, because there's actually a lot of distribution companies from China asking to bring our products there because they're like, yeah, we know yours is safer. We remember 12 just like you do.
Yeah, exactly. They know how to read a COA.
Yes. They make it a requirement. Like Japan, you have to have your COAs. UK, you have to have your COAs. Mexico, Brazil. If you're going to export these products legally, you got to have your COAs. That's for the safety of the animals and for the people, and for the legalities. Mm-hmm. And if they won't give you a COA, walk away. Exactly.
And we are actually going to have another company that I met at the expo was there's a lab company that was there, mm-hmm. and they're going to do an episode with us on how to read a COA. So, thinking that's going to help some people out there.
I like that. It's good education. People need to know how to do that.
They do.
People, right? They think, just potency. Not just what's in it, also what's not in it.
Oh, and also the terpenes. The more and more we learn about terpenes, so like, oh wow, this is if it's rich in linolene or whatever, what it can do. Okay, one more thing here. What are some factors to consider when dosing a pet with CBD?
Some factors to consider are body weight and composition. What's our body fat ratio is a little important, but most important to consider is the weight of your animal and the age of your animal. Mm-hmm. These are products that are safe enough for puppies and kittens and young animals to the geriatric animal, or for just overall health and wellness. Now, for our older animals, right, we want to take a look at what do they need support for. Typically, their joints, their hips, their mobility, their heart, and their brain, right? Sometimes we see a little neurological dysfunction, almost like dementia with 12, 14-year-old large animals. Well, yeah, their brain is not young anymore. CBD supports a lot of that. And we want to take a look at then their body weight, because we want to get them to a good dose, a proper amount to use to be therapeutic and beneficial, not just, hi, I give my animal some CBD. And so we look at the data that's available, and we see Cornell, the suggestion for geriatric dogs with osteoarthritis is 2 milligrams per kilogram. For non-science people, that's 1 milligram per pound, right? Roughly. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio for those older dogs. And that's then age, that's weight, and that's a little condition specific to consider.
Yeah, you're giving them a little bit more than you would give just a healthy dog as a nutritional supplement, a phyto supplement every day.
Right. Right, because on average, a recommendation I like to tell people for directions for use on milligrams is at least 1 to 2 milligrams per 10 pounds, roughly. Mm-hmm. but I've seen some data out there. The Cornell data, for instance, that went all the way to 8 milligrams per kilogram, probably a 4-to-1 ratio. I've seen ratios of 20-to-1, 10-to-1. On those higher ratios, though, that's where I saw like more diarrhea and things like that.
Yeah. So if you were starting at like a 2 milligrams per 10 pounds or whatever, and so you were starting to increase it a little bit, to get to the point where you could see benefits in your pet. So what are some things you can look for that would make you go, okay, yeah, we're good. We don't need to keep increasing.
Absolutely. So that's observation, right? And so one of the things we want to do when we begin our journey with CBD is we want to journal things.
Exactly.
We want to take photos. We want to capture videos. And we want to write it down because we can say, okay, I gave, let's say for Dante, right? For me, how I discovered what he needed, right? Okay, it's a cold day. He's got bad hips already, but since it's cold, it's probably going to be a little bit harder for him to get up and going. Okay, let me start with this dose, which for him, because I already had the Cornell data, I knew, okay, 2 mg per kg. I got him to where he's 55 pounds. And so we started with 25 milligrams, and I worked my way up. Every day, or actually every time I dosed, I would then 20, 30 minutes later to an hour and a half later, start writing down some notes. Things I noticed with him. I noticed when he was getting off the ground, he didn't ache and strain. He would just get up. I noticed he tripoded a lot less. I also noticed he would eat without fuss. So we want to start noticing, they might seem like small little changes, like your dog not eating with fuss. Seems like a small thing. It's not. So we want to journal it, even the smallest change, because that's how they talk to us. Is by us observing what they're doing and how they're feeling.
Yeah. So if it was a little bit on the excessive side, you might see, more sleeping, or maybe a little irritability, like anxiety, because of the way that it starts. The whole thing with the bell curve, it's like that's your sweet spot. You give too much, the effectiveness, the efficacy goes down. You give too little, the efficacy is down. You want to go in the middle there. So if you start noticing as you're going up that things are getting worse, well then, like all of a sudden he's got anxiety that he didn't have before. Well then you need to back off.
Exactly. My best recommendation is start low and move up slow. And that's
unless they have a big tumor coming out of their throat.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Then get right to it. Sure. Right.
Exactly. Okay. So, any parting words of wisdom for our friends with furry families? Because I know you and I both have lots of furries. So, about daily use, using it as a supplement, a preventative, tips on when you would say use a tincture versus a treat, anything, any just general advice for us.
We got it. So be it you're starting your journey or you're already an advocate of CBD, journal things. We want to write down and record what's going on, what we're seeing, what we're dosing, how we're giving it. We want to have that type of information. That's really helpful for us to assess how things are going. We also want to know that these products are safe, right? And we want to make sure to maintain the safety for our pet that we have certificates of analysis. Now, some companies do not have them directly on their websites, but if you contact them, they should give them to you without fuss. We will give you ours, right? Phyto Animal Health, if you ask us, we will give them to you. Plus, we have QR codes on the product. So when you click the QR code with your phone, it'll pull up the COA and the directions for use.
That is beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's about safety, right? So when we know we do it right and how we choose a good, safe product, remember, no COA, walk away, no way, right?
Exactly.
So we know we have a safe product. We're going to journal our experience with the product. We want to see which one does my animal take. Did they need the oral applicator? Did they need a tincture? Did I combine some different options? Because eventually you're probably going to little science experiment here, and you will get to a mixture of products, right? For me, I found that by taking the Vitality 500 milligram, quarter teaspoon, and a quarter teaspoon of my Vitality X isolate, 1,000 milligram, and put it together, that seemed to have the most effect, right? So we want to journal. We also then want to take time and be patient, right? These are not pharmaceuticals that have short-term efficacy, right? Pharmaceutical short-term efficacy, long-term not so good, liver failure in some cases. So a CBD nutraceutical efficacy short-term, efficacy long-term. So be patient. Wait 3-4 days to maybe see some slight improvements. Don't be discouraged if it takes 3 or 4 weeks to rebuild the body a bit and help support it. Rome was not built in a day. Do you lay bricks or do you build cathedrals?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where we want to. So be patient. Be diligent in writing down what you're doing, because that's going to help you make sure you're getting up to the top of the mountain, so to speak. And seek advice. Read books. Okay, go on Dr. Google, see what's there. But start being able to dissect some of the information that you know is just false.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's out there. And know that, talk to your veterinarian about it.
Especially if you're in the state of California.
Especially if you're in the state of California. But you know what? Let them know what you're doing. You are not abusing your animal by doing that.
Let's make sure that we say CBD.
Yes.
Let's stay away from the THC with the pets. That's for professionals only. And
that is correct. That is absolutely correct. And that's why we see in states that have legalized cannabis, recreational or medical, increase in overdose of THC products, because those are human products, high THC, with chocolate and other things they shouldn't be eating.
And one of the things that we had mentioned in the panel was that dogs specifically have a much higher CB1 count in their brains.
Right.
And that's what pairs up with the THC, and it's just too easy to hurt a dog. Don't do THC with a dog. If your veterinarian thinks that that's something they know how to dose, they know what to do. That is not for a layperson to do.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that.
Very sad sometimes there. So, all right. Well, Ian, thank you for the knowledge today. We appreciate it. I'm sure we'll be circling back around after a few months to get another dose. And hugs to Dante. He's such a sweetie. Absolutely.
I'll give him some love for you.
Thank you.
Don, for the opportunity to share a little bit of our mission and our values, because that's, to me, what's really important. People understand we're here for the benefit of the animals and the planet, and we're going to be here long term. It's not about the money. It's about doing it.
Exactly. Thank you again, everybody.
Thanks, Don.
We will see you hopefully next week with another episode of CBD Talk Podcast. Until then, stay happy and stay healthy.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.